Hi, I'm Sam, Business Development Assistant at Transfer Travel, and we are a resale travel marketplace. If you can no longer go on your travel holiday plans anymore, you can put it onto our website and someone else can equally buy it off you. And today we're going to be interviewing Sophie Zienkiewicz, who is the co-founder of Carbon Neutral Fuels. So if you want to give yourself a little intro.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me. It's lovely to be here. My name is Sophie, and as you say, I'm a co-founder at Carbon Neutral Fuels, and we are developing sustainable aviation fuel, which means that it's a fuel that's good for the environment and can mean that we can keep on traveling and enjoying the wonderful world we live in.
So as a climate activist, as yourself, who's also a big traveller, how did that lead you to co-founding Carbon Neutral Fuels?
Oh, that's a good question. So I love traveling. It's so much fun, isn't it? Just
Yeah.
getting out and seeing the world and meeting new people and all that kind of stuff. And I suppose I've always been interested in the climate agenda and how, as people, our actions can have impact and what you can do to make a difference. And that really culminated when I went to COP26, which was the climate change festival up in Glasgow.
Oh, yes, amazing, yeah.
It was amazing. It was so good. So I met, I was up there volunteering and campaigning on behalf of the nuclear industry and how we need to use low carbon electrons to power
Yeah.
everything that we want to do, basically. And I was up there and it was a fantastic environment. There was so many young people campaigning on behalf of, yes, we can change the world and we can make a difference. And it was such a fantastic atmosphere. I loved it. And I was very fortunate because I got to meet my co-founder there.
Oh, amazing.
And it was a pure chance meeting. He travelled in, he was living in London at the time. I'm in Manchester. So it was like this culmination of energy and all this sort of stuff. And Alistair said, I've got an idea. And I thought, oh, that's intriguing. What can we do with that? And he basically said, what if we were to make sustainable fuel? And we were to do this in a really novel kind of way. And that's really where the concept came from for CNF.
Oh my God, no, amazing. That's so interesting. Really interested in, because especially when people are like traveling nowadays, I feel like not many people are really conscious about when they're traveling on such planes, going to different like destinations. No one's really, they just kind of book the flight and they don't really think about their kind of actions contributing to the environment when traveling. So I think putting that in place is really good so people can still enjoy going away and traveling while also helping the environment and thinking about the environment as well.
It's so true because when you're a flight specifically, you think about so many different things. Firstly, you spend ages researching where am I going to go, what am I going to do? And then if you're anything like me, you'll have so many tabs with so many different flights on them. And then you're going, okay, so this is the perfect time. Da, da. And then you think, right, I'm going to need this suitcase, I'm going to need this. And then quite often there's a little button at the end of, do you want to offset this flight? And I think so many of us go, I'm just quite fatigued at that point, and I've spent so much money and
so much research.
Yeah, and it's really interesting how it's often put as an afterthought, like you say. And I'm a big believer in flight. I think it's really important that we can, for many reasons, that we can travel. For the ones that we've already said about meeting new people and all that sort of stuff. But then there's things like we work fully remotely. And so for people on business, you need to be able to travel. And then there's all of the other stuff that we don't even think about. Like I've ordered this next day delivery. Well, where's that coming from?
Yeah, especially now with like shops like TikTok Shop as well, especially that's become such a big thing nowadays. So when people are like ordering, they're not really thinking, they're just thinking, oh wow, it's going to come, it's super cheap. But then again, they're not thinking, where's this product coming from? What's that contribution to the environment?
100%, yeah. And we don't exist to sort of beat people with a stick and go, come on.
Yeah.
Actually we want our business to be inspiring and show people that actually you can have impact and you can make big changes. You just need to have an idea and run with it.
So what does the future of sustainable travel look like? And what can we do as travelers in the meantime to be more mindful when getting on that flight?
Yes. So definitely when it comes to flying, there are a few things you can do. You can think consciously in terms of what am I actually packing? Because our suitcases are a big portion of what flight is, because it takes an awful lot of energy to get a metal tube up in the air. So on a personal front, whenever I travel, I try and just take a rucksack and do as much sort of contained packing as I possibly can. There's also things like we talked about the offsetting, so you can do that at the point of when you purchase your ticket, or there's quite a good rule of thumb that you can search on the internet, and there's so many different websites for it. But in general, if you say I'm going from here to here, it will spit out an answer which says you've probably spent this much carbon, as it were. It's a simple way of putting it. And what you can do is when you come back from holiday, you can say, oh, I had a fantastic time. I just need to make sure that I've not had a net gain in terms of that climate. So that's like a really simple thing that you can do. And actually, as a business, or if any of the listeners and watchers are business owners or have the ability to create change within your business, doing that offsetting of your corporate travel is so impactful. And there are so many different projects and so many different certifications that you can support and subscribe to help offset it. But there are two things that I would recommend. And then also when you're out there traveling, it's not like you go on holiday and your impact just stops.
Yeah.
It's all of the decisions you make out there. So it's things like, and this is a bit of a deviation, but I'm quite a big believer in that everything, all the small things add up. But maybe when you go out for a meal, maybe you get the vegetarian option. And, it's things like that. And I think for me, the power in what we're doing with trying to help save the world is that it's a mindset. And it's a mindset of, yes, you can make a change, and yes, you can be the difference. And then it's actually enacting that mindset and not seeing it as a sacrifice of, damn it, I can't have a burger. It's, oh, wow, I get to try this really cool Moroccan tagine that I wouldn't have otherwise.
Definitely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, especially when like you're going traveling and like especially going to like new local places, not going to all of the big kind of like expensive like restaurants where they're could be importing any of their different foods, or like even like there's a big thing at the minute called grocery tourism. I mean, I absolutely love going to foreign supermarkets on holiday. It's so fun and so exciting to see what kind of crisps they have, all the different food.
So with you.
Everybody goes in and they're always like, oh wow, what different drinks and snacks do they have? And then they're actually cooking at home as well, so like making their own dishes and using like a lot of the fresh like local products that they have in the stores when away.
Totally. That's a big thing, and it's so fun.
Yeah, it is.
Right? It's I don't think that being conscious and being considerate and kind about your actions has to be a sacrifice.
No.
And I think quite often or maybe not quite often, but it can be presented as that. And actually it's an opportunity, and it's a way to think differently and do things differently and experience new things. So I would agree with all of that. That sounds very fun as well.
Yeah, it is. I love going and trying all the different snacks and stuff. So on the topic of, obviously, with our platform, we have a lot of resale flights. And so I kind of just wanted to get your insights of like, if you've ever heard of resale travel flights before, or kind of like our platform, and how do you think that the resale flights are contributing to sustainability in general? And is this something that you would like think about or even want to kind of like do?
100%, yes, for a few different reasons. Personally, love the concept of being quite agile when it comes to traveling and just sort of going, hey, where am I going to go next week? Let's see. So yes, I love your platform for that reason. I think that's incredibly exciting, the fact that the choice is amazing. And then from a business point of view, it's an interesting concept because so our philosophy is where we can take trains, we will.
Yeah.
And so that means quite often going from London to Amsterdam, for instance, that kind of route.
And then you got Paris as well, London to Paris as well. They've got that fast train as well.
Exactly. And it works really well. You can do a bit of typing on the train, and then you're there. So that's our kind of base case, which sounds strange for a flight company, but that is the kindest way that we feel as a business we can be to the environment. So that's what we do as a base case. However, sometimes we do have to take planes. For a variety of reasons. And so having the option to, just give your website a scan and see if there is something that we can do there is great. And I think when it comes to sustainability, that plane is probably going to fly anyway.
Yeah.
So thinking about the concept of reducing the amount of waste, which is kind of what we're saying an empty seat would be. Having platforms like yours is fantastic for that, because it gives people the freedom and the opportunity to go and, experience new things. But also, if you are going to be a committed traveller anyway, because you need to be so-and-so at this point, it's great. It's a great alternative.
Yeah, no, that's what we're trying to do. We're helping, because especially like a lot of like plans change a lot in like with people. Like you will book somewhere and then you won't think when you're booking somewhere that you can't go no longer. So then when it comes to that opportunity where like plans change, something's happened and you can no longer go on that flight anymore and it's non-refundable, it's always just a good way to recoup a bit of money back, and then also it is contributing to like, because that plane, as you said, is going to go either way, contributing to the sustainability.
And it frees up that kind of money, because not everything to do with sustainability is cheap. Like it costs money to be kind to the environment in some senses. So yes, having that then financial flexibility to go, do you know what, I am actually going to offset maybe more than I otherwise would because I saved on the travel.
Because that's
great.
Like
everybody wins.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. Both wins. Someone gets their money back, and then also someone gets like a cheaper flight that they probably would have not been able to get on anyway. So if every traveller listening took one action after this episode, what would you hope that it would be?
Oh, that's almost too hard to answer, to be honest with you, because I think everyone travels for different reasons, don't they? And I'm sure the same with you. You go on trips and sometimes you don't realise what you think you're going to get something out of it, and then you get something totally different. Yeah. And I think that is generally quite a hard question to answer. I suppose what I would say, if you can, try and make the most conscious decision you can. So when you've taken your flight and you've offset it, fantastic. Maybe when you get to your destination airport, you get the bus rather than getting an Uber. And you think about that. And then maybe you go to the local market rather than going to a big supermarket or something. So it's kind of evaluating every step on the journey. Could I do something a little bit differently that probably will add something really cool to the sum of my experience? Because, I don't know, I saw this cool street art thing because I took the bus that I wouldn't have seen otherwise, you know. So I'm sorry, because it is a bit of a cop-out answer in the sense there's not one thing that we can all do to help save the world, but it is that mindset change.
Being that mindful.
And I really believe that it all compounds, actually.
So a lot of airlines say that they're going green. How much do you think is that marketing, like, versus measurable?
Yes. So we interact with airlines fairly frequently, as you'd imagine. I think there's kind of two schools of thought. One, which is the perception that the public has of what an airline does. And yes, there are definitely examples where it tends on the more greenwashing side of the fence. But then there are other examples where it is genuine and it is done with good intentions. And there are so many companies out there that are buying sustainable aviation fuel specifically, that then gets passed on to the customer, which is great. So there's that kind of public facing side. And then there's all of the things that happen behind the scenes, so I'm not from the aviation industry. This is quite new to me. So I'm kind of learning all the lingo and what happens behind closed doors and all of that kind of stuff as we go. And that's been a whole other journey. But there's that kind of corporate side of how seriously are airlines taking it. And actually, every conference we go to, there's airlines present. Every email we've sent out has been met with some kind of response. Yeah. So I think people within those airlines are taking it seriously because they recognise that it's important to do for the environment, and also it's important to do for the PR reasons. Yeah. Because if you're the only airline who's going, I don't believe in sustainable fuel, I mean, that's going to be quite obvious, isn't it? So it's kind of a multi-layered question. But I always err on the side of optimism. So I like to believe that people are doing it for the right reasons.
Yeah, it's really interesting, like seeing how we were in the past to how we're like kind of changing now and what more people are doing. And like, for example, like a lot more people are like, businesses are like B Corp as well, like kind of getting into more of this behind the sustainability and like thinking more about that.
Yeah, I would absolutely agree with all of that. It has become, there's an interesting kind of school of thought, which, and I have to admit I wasn't around at this time, so I can't verify it, but I've heard that back in the day, health and safety was talked about as like, oh, health and safety, you know, why do we do it? Why bother? Blah, blah, blah. And now, if you go onto a building site, construction site, you can't even get onto a building site unless you've done the health and safety test. And it's quite an interesting concept of, back in the day, in inverted commas, people used to perceive the kind of top-down approach to health and safety of like, you have to do this, otherwise there are consequences, and how that has now morphed into it's just become business as usual. Yeah. And actually, you can kind of see some parallels between that and sustainability, in the sense that it's been a very top-down, or in some cases, I should say, it's been a very top-down thing with CEOs and leaders of businesses saying, we are going to be sustainable and this is how we're going to do it. And with governments saying, we are going to strive for net zero by whatever date, it keeps getting pushed out. But you kind of hope that one day it will become business as usual.
Yeah.
And like you're saying with B Corps and the kind of metrics and measures that we put on ourselves in the workplace and then also outside of work, you can kind of see it tending that way, which I think is a good thing. And
definitely.
it does give me hope.
If you could kind of think like what percentage of flights could be powered by SAF by 2035, do you have like any like goals or kind of any percentage that you could maybe give?
Yes, absolutely. So SAF is Sustainable Aviation Fuel. It's kind of this industry term that we use to bucket all different types of fuel into that. And there are various targets and goals that have been set by different governments. So in the UK, for instance, we have this thing called the SAF mandate. Mm-hmm. And that stipulates that by 2030, 10% of all fuel that is consumed by or in a plane will be sustainable. Now that is from a standing start, which from a couple of years ago was pretty much 0%.
Yeah.
That is quite a high achievement to be reaching for. Fantastic. I think we do need those sort of big ambitions. European governments have something similar. There's a variation of it in the US. So there are, Singapore is actually a real leader in terms of SAF mandates and targets. So yes, governments across the world really recognise that this is a priority and that it needs to be part of the mix. 10% might not sound like a lot in terms of the fuel consumption, but those mandates do increase over time. So it's very conceivable, and one of my aspirations, if I can, about CNF is that one day, so our facility will come online in the 2030s, and one day, whoever the Prime Minister is will be flying on our fuel. And I just think that is such a cool thing to hold on to. And it's something that is, it's quite inspiring to do so. But to get there, it's going to be a little bit of a challenge, if I'm honest, because there are constraints around things like financing these facilities. There's constraints around, so we call them feedstocks. So for us, carbon dioxide is a feedstock process. Yeah. We actually use the CO2 to make the fuel, which sounds kind of counterintuitive, but it's how we can be sustainable. And as more and more people are making fuel, you're going to have feedstock restrictions. And so everyone's kind of learning on the job, to be honest. How do we actually make this industry whilst we're flying the plane? Mm-hmm. So, yes, but it's very likely actually that if you haven't flown on a SAF-powered flight by now, which you probably will have actually, because there is SAF available in the supply chain, that you will in the future.
It's just amazing what like the work that you're like doing, and like you and your team, and like what you've kind of like as you said, it just came from like an idea from when you met your co-founder.
Yeah, I'm so proud of what we've achieved, and like you say, it does come down to the people in the team, and it is a fantastic thing that we're trying to do.
And then for a final question, what was the moment that you realized aviation needs a different approach to sustainability?
Oh, okay. So like I said, I'm not from this world.
Yes, yeah.
I am from outside the industry. I worked in the nuclear industry for a while and then did sustainability and music festivals. So I've got quite a checkered sort of experience. And I think for me, in the first year that we started CNF, we went to everything. We said yes to every single networking event you've ever heard of. And that was a real moment, because it wasn't necessarily that I realised that the industry needed changing, because I didn't have any reference points. Yes. But what I did feel was that it was changing. And the types of questions that were being asked in the January that we went to a conference versus the December were totally different. And that was incredibly cool, because you were seeing the change that people were going through kind of live. Yeah. And going, right, okay, so I'm head of this airline. What can I do? Can I talk to you? Can I buy this? Can I learn? All of those sorts of things. And I think that was the moment when I thought, oh, we're in the right place now, because this industry gets sustainability and it gets that change needs to happen.
Well, thank you so much for joining us on our Transfer Travel podcast about what sustainable travel looks like now. It's been amazing getting your insights about who you are, what you founded, and yeah, super excited to have you on the podcast.
Thank you so much. It's been so much fun. I've really enjoyed it. And if I could just plug, so if anything has resonated with any of your audience members, then we actually have a crowdfund which is going live in the next, well, hopefully it might be live by the time this podcast comes out, actually. That is an opportunity for anyone and everyone to get involved. You can head over to the Crowdcube website and you will see us listed there, or sign up to our mailing list where we will tell you everything about when it's coming out. And it would be lovely to see some of you as investors in CNF.
Yeah, perfect. We'll see you guys next week. Not next week, sorry. I don't know why I said that. We'll just leave it there.